Alright guys, we're back on 04 450, and as you can see, we left the 6.0 cooler in here, as everybody likes to do, because it's better than double the size of the 7.3. The issue is with the ports on the bottom. They're 1/2 inch, and we got 3/8 lines that feed it from the transmission. So we got one of the transmission lines off, and we made some marks to cut it and put a flare so that we can adapt, and we're going to use some brass fittings here. I'll show you about that a little bit later, to step up or reduce from one size to the other and make our transmission loop. So the transmission will go into the bottom of the radiator like it usually does, and then out of the radiator into the trans cooler, and then out of the trans cooler and back to the radiator. So let's get on making our tube, and then we can cut our hoses. We're going to make a barb kind of like this on the end of this. Best way to do that is to put this tubing in the appropriate hole. As a push fitting, you want to bring the tubing down to about the same height as the push fitting. Once you get it there, then you can snug it down. I find these things don't snug quite enough, so sometimes you got to use a vise or something like that to give it a little extra oomph on there, because if you don't get the teeth on this clamp here to engage all the way, it'll push your tubing out on some of the stouter steel tubing. Alright, let me grab something real quick. Alright, so once you have this clamped in at the same depth as this, you take the tube, the nipple, stick it down in the tube, and then we're going to use this piece. And it's gonna collapse that tube for us. Alright. This old steel tubing is a little stiff, so I find it a little easier to do it with the channel locks on it. So let's get her done. Now if you're doing, this is a double flaring tool, and we're not really doing that, we're just kind of putting a bubble in it, so we're not going to go all the way down. We just want to make a rise or a little lip that gives our hose clamp a little something extra to hold on to. Loosen her up a little bit here on both sides. And so now we've got a little hose nipple there that we can use, and we're going to clean her up a little bit. Alright, so we got a few little burrs right here where the I'm gonna knock off with the file. This is where the teeth of the flaring tool bite into the tubing. We don't want that to cut our hose. So we're just gonna smooth that off. Make sure we don't have anything rough. And then right here at the tip, it's not really gonna mess with the hose any, but it's best not to have any burrs that'll get under the hose and give you trouble when you're trying to get on there. And you can take a little fine sandpaper or emery, or in this case Scotch-Brite, and kind of polish her up. And so our hose will slip on there and hose clamp, and that gives us a good surface to get the clamp on so it won't just pop off. All right, we're going to hit this with a little spray on both sides. Nothing but a little soapy water. Yeah. Work them in there all the way. And then we hose clamp these down, and then like I said, we're going to tie wrap all of this and clean this all up, and then that will adapt your 3/8 and 1/2 inch lines to the 6/0 cooler.